So you've probably been lied to about the banana,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all have.
right? Like you feel a muscle cramp coming on in the middle of the night, and what do? You grab a banana, you think you're fixing it, but you might actually be setting off this like biological trap in your bloodstream.
Yeah, it's so ingrained in us from childhood. You want potassium, you eat a banana. They're basically synonyms at this point.
Exactly. But what if that classic unquestioned advice is actually, sabotaging your metabolic health with all these hidden sugars?
It really forces us to reconsider the whole nutritional equation we just take for granted. Like, we tend to view food merely as this delivery vehicle for one specific nutrient.
Right, like banana equals potassium.
Exactly. But human biology is just highly, highly interactive. So today, we're looking at how our bodies process these foods at a cellular level. Because honestly, the biological packaging of your nutrients really determines whether your body can actually even use them.
Yeah, and that's the goal here. Our mission for this deep dive is to completely upgrade your nutritional toolkit. We're drawing from this really fascinating breakdown by Dr. Eric Berg, DC, and it's called The #1 Best Potassium Food on Earth. It's not bananas.
Yeah, it's a great breakdown.
We really want to uncover the real heavyweight champions of potassium here. Because relying on that traditional advice, eating bananas for potassium, it's honestly a lot like taking out a payday loan.
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it.
Right. You get this quick, immediate burst of what you need, like some potassium and a rush of energy, but the interest rate is just massive.
Yeah, and you pay it back in a huge metabolic crash.
Exactly. It just leaves your body worse off than when you started.
And the mechanics of that crash, well, that's precisely what we need to explore today. We aren't just looking at what foods contain potassium, but the physiological cascade they trigger.
The ripple effect.
Right. We really have to understand the synergy between different minerals. Because simply eating a nutrient doesn't automatically mean your cells are actually absorbing it.
Which is wild to think about. But okay, before we get to the actual heavyweight champions, we have to talk about the foods that Dr. Berg explicitly puts on his no list.
Yeah. This part usually surprises people.
Oh, it's going to ruffle some feathers for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially a hall of fame for traditional potassium sources.
Right.
And we're talking about bananas, obviously, but also potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans, and plantains.
Yeah. And if you look at the raw data, you can totally see why they've historically been recommended. I mean, plantains, for instance, they actually contain significantly more potassium than bananas.
Oh, wow. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, they do. But we have to look at the macronutrient profile that's actually delivering that potassium. Every single food on that standard recommendation list is a dense starch.
Right. And a starch is, structurally speaking, basically just hidden sugar waiting to be unleashed.
Exactly. At the molecular level, starch is primarily amylose and amylopectin.
Okay, science words.
Right, which are they're just long, complex chains of glucose molecules. That's all they are. And when those enter your digestive tract, your enzymes just rapidly break those chemical bonds and they flood your bloodstream with glucose.
So it's a sugar bomb.
It really is. A single medium-sized banana hits your system with roughly 27 grams of sugar.
Wow. 27 grams.
Yeah, and that is a massive glycemic load for your body to process all at once.
And it's not just the raw food itself either, right? It's how we manipulate it before we even eat it. Like,
right.
Nobody sits down and just crunches into a raw fibrous potato.
No, definitely not.
We bake them or mash them or boil them just to make them palatable.
Right, and the cooking process actually drastically alters the biological impact. When you subject a potato to high heat, you're essentially pre-digesting those starches.
Oh, really? So you're doing the work for your stomach?
Exactly.
Oh.
The heat breaks down the cellular walls and it gelatinizes the starch. It makes it incredibly bioavailable. So when you eat that cooked potato, the conversion to glucose in your bloodstream happens almost instantaneously.
So you get the potassium, sure, but it comes with a catch.
A huge catch. It's inextricably linked to a severe blood sugar spike.
Man. Okay, but let's look at beans for a second, because beans are like the absolute darling of the longevity and health food world. We're constantly told to prioritize them, for their fiber content.
They are, yeah. But beans present this really complex metabolic dilemma.
How so?
Well, they do contain beneficial fiber, absolutely, but they still carry a heavy starch burden. And additionally, the specific types of carbohydrates in beans, these fermentable oligosaccharides, they're notoriously difficult for the human digestive system to break down.
Oh, is that why they cause so much digestive trouble for people.
Yeah, exactly. For a significant portion of the population, and actually including Dr. Berg himself, this leads to severe gastrointestinal distress and bloating.
Right, the classic bean problem.
Yeah, and they raise your insulin levels just like the potato or the banana would, which is why they firmly land on the no list if your primary goal is clean potassium absorption.
Okay, I hear the logic, but I'm going to push back a little here.
Sure.
Let's say it's 2 in the morning. My calf muscle is just seizing up with a terrible cramp, and I desperately need potassium. If a banana or, I don't know, a baked potato has that much potassium in it, shouldn't I just accept the sugar? Like, isn't the immediate relief worth the trade-off?
I mean, it seems like a fair trade until you trace the biological events that follow. Let's just walk through it.
Okay.
You eat the banana. The glucose rapidly enters your bloodstream, creating a state of hyperglycemia.
High blood sugar.
Right. Your pancreas detects this toxic level of sugar and pumps out a massive compensatory wave of insulin. Insulin acts as the key to unlock your cells, sweeping the glucose out of the blood.
Okay, so problem solved.
Well, no, because the spike was so rapid, the insulin response is almost always an overcorrection.
And that overcorrection is what causes the crash, like that reactive hypoglycemia.
Precisely. Your blood sugar plummets way below baseline. So within maybe 20 or 30 minutes, your brain registers this deficit as an emergency, and it triggers severe hunger.
Oh, man. So you're starving again.
Yeah, you're craving another banana or maybe a donut just to stabilize yourself. The physiological benefit of the potassium is completely overshadowed by the metabolic chaos of the hyperinsulinemia.
So you're just trapped.
Yeah, you've entered a reactive cycle where your body is just constantly playing catch up.
Wow. So the payday loan analogy really does hold up there. The interest rate of that insulin spike just bankrupts the initial benefit.
It really does.
So, okay, if starches are completely off the table, what actually delivers massive, usable amounts of potassium without triggering that metabolic roller coaster?
Well, the absolute #1 champion providing a massive dose without the glycemic penalty is the avocado.
The avocado. I know guacamole fans are absolutely thrilled right now.
Oh, for sure. A single avocado contains roughly 700 milligrams of potassium.
That's a ton.
The numbers are impressive, yeah, but the biological mechanism is really what makes it the true champion here. An avocado contains 0 starch and essentially 0 net carbohydrates. Because of that unique profile, it produces absolutely no blood sugar spike and no corresponding insulin surge.
So the delivery mechanism is just totally different. You're not getting potassium bundled with sugar. You're getting it bundled with extremely healthy fats.
Exactly. Those monounsaturated fats are the key. They actually physically slow down gastric emptying.
Meaning it stays in your stomach longer.
Right. The food remains in your stomach and upper intestine for a much longer duration.
So the fat basically acts like a time-release capsule. Instead of the banana just hitting your system all at once and then disappearing, the avocado kind of slowly dispenses the nutrient as it moves through the digestive tract.
Yeah, that analogy perfectly captures the mechanism. By slowing down digestion, you maximize the extraction of the nutrient. Your intestinal tract actually has the time it needs to absorb the potassium efficiently.
That makes so much sense.
And crucially, it provides deep satiety. You eat an avocado, and your brain receives a steady stream of energy signals, meaning you aren't starving again 20 minutes later.
Now, there is another element to the avocado that we really have to highlight because potassium isn't flying solo here, right? Dr. Berg points out that avocados naturally contain significant amounts of magnesium, too.
Yeah, and this is perhaps the most critical concept in cellular nutrition. Potassium simply cannot function in your body without magnesium.
Wait, really? They're that connected?
They are completely interdependent. To understand why, we have to look at the sodium-potassium pump.
Okay, let's get into it.
So this is a vital enzyme found in the membrane of all human cells. Its job is to pump sodium out of the cell and pull potassium in.
Okay, and that pump obviously requires energy to operate.
A massive amount of energy. It actually uses up to 20% of your body's total ATP.
20%? Wow.
Yeah, and ATP is the primary energy molecule of your cells. But here is the catch. ATP must bind to a magnesium ion in order to be biologically active.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. If you are deficient in magnesium, your ATP cannot fuel the sodium-potassium pump. The pump breaks down, and the potassium just remains stranded outside the cell.
Completely useless.
Utterly useless, regardless of how much you just ate.
So the avocado is just perfectly engineered by nature. It provides the potassium, and it simultaneously provides the exact magnesium spark plug required to drive that mineral into your cells.
Precisely. Along with B vitamins and other trace minerals too.
That's incredible. Dr. Berg mentions he eats them constantly, right? Like with eggs, meat, or on salads. And I should mention, while the source video does plug a line of his supplements here, the primary takeaway for anyone listening is really the power of this whole food approach.
Oh, absolutely. Supplements can act as a bridge, sure, but you cannot perfectly replicate the complex evolutionary design of an avocado in a laboratory. The synergistic ratios found in nature are really always the gold standard.
Okay, so avocados make incredible sides and breakfast additions, but eventually, you need a main course. If you're building a dinner plate and you want a massive potassium punch without the starch, where do we go?
The prime candidate for a main course is wild salmon. Yeah. Most people associate potassium strictly with terrestrial plants, But a half fillet of wild-caught salmon delivers an astonishing 970 milligrams of potassium.
Wait, almost 1,000 milligrams in one piece of fish?
Yep.
That's crazy. But the source material draws a very hard line here regarding the sourcing, right? It has to be wild-caught salmon, absolutely not farm-raised.
Yeah, the distinction is non-negotiable if you want this specific nutrient profile.
Why is that?
Well, farm-raised fish are typically fed these processed pellets consisting of soy, corn, and synthetic additives, and that drastically alters their cellular composition.
It makes sense, you are what you eat.
Exactly. Wild salmon, on the other hand, consume their natural diet of krill and smaller forage fish. This natural diet is what concentrates the high levels of potassium alongside that potent antioxidant astaxanthin, which is actually what gives them their rich pink color.
Oh, interesting. And the metabolic impact is exactly what we're looking for, right?
Zero carbohydrates, meaning zero glycemic load. And once again, the wild salmon delivers a fantastic dose of magnesium alongside the potassium.
There it is again.
Plus a high concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, which dramatically reduce cellular inflammation.
So we're really seeing a profound biological pattern here. The absolute best sources of potassium, the avocado, the wild salmon, they naturally arrive bundled with magnesium.
Oh,
it's like this two birds with one stone scenario that perfectly evolved for human absorption. Your body really doesn't want isolated chemicals. It thrives on these synergistic complexes.
It's just elegant biochemistry. When you consume wild salmon, you're simultaneously delivering the raw fuel, the structural components for cellular repair, and the enzymatic cofactors required to actually utilize the nutrients.
Okay, so we've covered the healthy fats. We've got a great protein source. But if we want to add a side dish that provides fiber without triggering that starch trap of a potato, we have to look at the classic health heavyweights, right? Leafy greens.
Yes, leafy greens.
But we really need to address the controversy here. Because people who follow nutritional science have a massive fear about consuming leafy greens in high volume.
The oxalate concern.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a highly debated topic. But before we deconstruct the fear, we really need to look at the nutritional density of these plants because the numbers are just staggering.
They really are. At the very top of the leafy green hierarchy is Swiss chard. Dr. Berg notes that one single cup of Swiss chard contains 8,000 milligrams of potassium.
8,000 milligrams in a single cup. I mean, it defies expectations.
That sounds like a typo.
I know, right? And right behind it, you have beet tops delivering 1,300 milligrams per cup and standard spinach providing 840 milligrams.
Wow.
They offer intense mineral density with a very low carbohydrate profile. But, and this is key, there is a strict biochemical rule for preparing them if you actually want to absorb that potassium.
Right, because potassium is highly water-soluble.
Exactly. If you drop Swiss chard or spinach into a pot of heavily boiling water, the extreme heat lyses or breaks open the plant's cellular walls.
And then what happens?
Well, because potassium is water-soluble, it immediately leaches out of the plant fibers and right into the surrounding water.
Oh, no. So unless you intend to drink the boiling water afterward,
you're quite literally draining the primary nutrient right down the sink.
That's tragic. So the cooking method entirely dictates the nutritional value. Sautéing them, steaming them, or at most, a very quick blanch.
Exactly.
Interestingly, for spinach specifically, the source points out that eating it completely raw actually limits the bioavailability of the potassium. You have to apply some heat, like a light sauté, to yield that full 840 milligrams.
Yeah, the light heat actually breaks down certain anti-nutrients that bind the minerals in the raw state, so it unlocks them for absorption without destroying the structural integrity of the leaf.
Okay, but let's address the elephant in the room here.
Let's do it.
If I'm eating a cup of Swiss chard to get 8,000 milligrams of potassium, Aren't I practically begging my body to form a kidney stone? We know that these dark leafy greens are incredibly high in oxalic acid.
It is a totally valid physiological concern. Let's look at the mechanism of nephrolithiasis, or, kidney stone formation.
Okay.
Oxalic acid is a naturally occurring compound in these plants. When oxalates encounter calcium in the bloodstream or the kidneys, they strongly bind together to form calcium oxalate crystals.
And those are the stones.
Right. These crystals can aggregate into stones which are jagged, highly irritating, and excruciating to pass.
So why would anyone purposely eat massive amounts of spinach or chard if it introduces the exact compound that forms the stone?
Well, because the body's digestive chemistry actually provides a brilliant loophole.
Oh.
Dr. Berg outlines a 3-step protocol that entirely mitigates this risk. And the first step is totally counterintuitive. You must actively consume calcium at the exact same time you eat the greens.
Wait. You consume calcium, the very mineral that bonds with oxalate to make the stone to prevent the stone.
Yes.
That sounds crazy.
I know, but think about it like grating cheese over your sautéed spinach. Here's the mechanism. If you introduce calcium and oxalates simultaneously, they undergo that chemical binding process in your gastrointestinal tract, not in your kidneys.
So they lock together in your gut.
Exactly. And because the calcium oxalate compound is too large to pass through the intestinal wall, it is never absorbed into your bloodstream.
Wow.
It simply passes safely through your digestive system and is excreted as waste.
That is fascinating. By pairing them at the dinner table, you force the chemical reaction to happen in the stomach, locking the oxalates up so they never even reach the renal system.
It's essentially applying chemistry to your culinary habits.
I love that. Okay, what's step 2?
The second step of the protocol relies on that synergy we discussed earlier, magnesium.
Always magnesium.
Always. Dark leafy greens are naturally abundant in magnesium, and magnesium is a potent inhibitor of calcium oxalate crystallization.
Oh, so it fights the stones too.
Yeah, it basically competes with calcium, preventing the oxalates from forming dense stones. Dr. Berg recommends ensuring optimal magnesium intake, potentially even supplementing if you consume high oxalate greens regularly.
So the plant naturally bundles the exact mineral needed to mitigate its own defensive compounds.
Yeah, evolutionary biology rarely creates a problem without providing the necessary countermeasure right nearby.
That's so cool. And the third step?
The third step is the most fundamental, hydration. Consuming roughly 2.5 liters of fluid daily.
Right, because a crystal cannot form without a super concentrated environment.
Exactly. If you're constantly flushing the system with fluid, that concentrated environment simply never develops.
So according to the source, if you utilize the calcium pairing, leverage the magnesium, and maintain hydration, the odds of developing a stone from these greens are statistically negligible.
You've effectively neutralized the threat while extracting an immense amount of potassium.
Okay, so we've covered fresh avocados, wild-caught salmon, and massive cups of Swiss chard. But let's be realistic for a second. You might be standing in your kitchen on a Tuesday night, you don't have fresh salmon or a garden full of beet tops, and you just really need to optimize your electrolytes. Let's look at the pantry, because Dr. Berg highlights some highly concentrated everyday sources hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, the modern pantry holds some remarkable mineral concentrates if you actually understand what you're looking at. Portobello mushrooms are an excellent starting point.
Really? Mushrooms?
Oh, yeah. A single cup provides 530 milligrams of potassium. Sautéed lightly with butter and high-quality sea salt, they offer a dense, zero-starch nutrient profile.
That sounds delicious, actually.
Yeah.
And then there's a staple almost everyone has sitting in a can or a tube, tomato paste.
Right. Because tomato paste is heavily reduced, the minerals are highly concentrated. Just 2 tablespoons yield 400 milligrams of potassium.
That's so easy to add to things.
It is an incredibly efficient way to fortify soups, stews, or sauces without adding significant volume.
But the absolute wildest hidden gem on this list, like the ultimate pantry hack, is cream of tartar.
Oh, yeah. This one surprises everyone.
Right. We use it to stabilize egg whites when baking meringues, but it is just sitting there in the baking aisle, practically pure potassium.
Chemically speaking, cream of tartar is potassium bitartrate. It's actually a byproduct of the winemaking process. And a mere half teaspoon delivers 250 milligrams of highly bioavailable potassium.
The source mentions that people on strict ketogenic diets who rapidly excrete electrolytes and need to replenish them immediately without touching carbohydrates will actually dissolve cream of tartar directly into water as a rapid DIY supplement.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
You don't need a perfectly engineered pill, you just need the baking powder's next-door neighbor.
It is an excellent example of a rapidly absorbed electrolyte. When dissolved in water, the bitartrate separates, leaving the potassium ions immediately available for cellular uptake.
Incredible. So bringing all this together, we have completely dethroned the banana and the baked potato.
Without a doubt.
If you want true biochemically accessible potassium, you cannot rely on dense starches that just throw your body into an insulin spiral and leave you crashing.
Right.
You need the time-release healthy fats of the avocado. You need the pristine protein omega-3s of wild-caught salmon. You need properly cooked leafy greens paired with a calcium source to bind those oxalates in the gut.
Absolutely essential.
And when in a pinch, you can just raid your pantry for tomato paste or cream of tartar.
And tying all of this together is the unbroken biological rule. Potassium cannot cross your cellular membranes. The sodium-potassium pump simply cannot function without adequate magnesium.
They're a team.
They are an inseparable pair in human metabolism.
So for you listening, this means you now have the biological blueprint to actually fuel your cells.
Yep.
You can avoid those mid-afternoon blood sugar crashes because you finally understand the mechanics of the starch trap.
Exactly.
You can walk right past the banana display and confidently build meals that support your metabolic health without falling for, outdated knee-jerk advice.
Dr. Berg's breakdown of cream of tartar as a concentrated mineral powerhouse really highlights a broader truth here.
What's that?
It really makes you wonder how many other completely mundane, everyday ingredients are just sitting forgotten in our cupboards right now, containing secret, untapped potential to heal and fuel our physiology, simply because we've forgotten how to look at our food at a cellular level.
Hiding right in the pantry. I love that. So next time you feel that cramp coming on, skip the payday loan, leave the banana in the bowl, go grab an avocado. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.